We are gathering today to celebrate the launch of a truly remarkable book about a man whose name is etched in the annals of valor, the late Mr. Ganju Lama, a Victoria Cross recipient. But before we proceed further, let us pause for a moment of deep spiritual and symbolic significance, the lighting of the butter lamp. In our culture, the butter lamp or chume is not merely a source of light. It represents the dispelling of darkness and ignorance and the illumination of wisdom and compassion. As we light this lamp tonight, we are sending forth a silent prayer for peace, remembering the sacrifices of late Mr. Ganju Lama and seeking the light of knowledge contained within this new book. It is a moment of blessing for the author, the hero's legacy, and all of us gathered here. To perform this deeply auspicious act, I would like to invite Anila, Mrs. Pemachuki ma'am, to the stage. I would request her daughter-in-law to kindly accompany Anila to the stage for lighting of the lamp. Thank you very much, ma'am.
Good afternoon, everyone. It's a lovely November day for us all to be present here. It is indeed a proud and overwhelming moment to be present here amidst you for the Gangtok launch of the book Ganju Lama VC, A Hero in War and Peace by Anuradha Sharma. This children's book is authored by Anuradha with illustrations by Pankaj Thapa sir and published by Foothills Publishing, headed by Lekha Rai and our dedicated team. I would like to thank the organizing committee for inviting me to speak on behalf of the family. I was told by the organizing committee that I would have to speak a few words, but I never settled down actually to prepare a speech or to say a few words. Since I have long lost this habit of notes and notebooks, and this book is authored by none other than my dear friend and colleague Anuradha Sharma, whom I have personally known for about 2 decades. Anuradha has since come a long way from being crowned Miss Siliguri to being a fearsome reporter to now an author who is already well known in literary circles. We worked together for almost a decade in the Telegraph, and I know her capability as a writer to author a book on her late father. I'm sorry, Anuradha, for having delayed your dream project. She had texted me 5 years ago. We were using Twitter at the time. She texted me that I want to write. In fact, she had mentioned that my late father was the only Gurkha from India to have won the Victoria Cross. So she remembered that she read somewhere, she researched that he was the only Gurkha from India. The rest of all VCs who have won Victoria Cross are from Nepal. But unfortunately, he was neither a Nepali or a Gurkha, but somehow managed to get into the Gurkha regiment. Anuradha also did a wonderful piece for Himal South Asia recently before writing a book. And then this time they finally caught me to help them with the book, and here we are. She's come a long way. This book is also beautifully illustrated by Pankaj Thapa sir, who's been a mentor since our weekend review days. He's been a dear friend also for the past so many years. He's also a well-known conservationist, having co-founded Green Circle. Thank you, Pankaj sir. Thank you, Anuradha. And This itself gives an impetus to art in the form of illustrations by Pankaj sir. It is indeed an ardent and marvelous initiative to tell stories from the region on our legendary figures, starting with our late father. We believe the publishing, Foothills Publishing with Lekha, Anuradha and Pankaj sir, they plan to write and publish on our heroes and legends from the region in a bid to inspire the younger generation as well as provide quality reading material. Foothills Publishing has done a wonderful job, and thank you, Lekha and her team. On behalf of our family, we are immensely grateful. On behalf of our mother, Pema Chuki, we are grateful to the team for bringing out this book. Thank you all. And we would also like to thank for inviting our mother, Pema Chuki, to launch the book here. I would also like to thank my friend Tashi Chopal, Secretary Education. I forgot to thank him in Ramchi. Chopal also has an army background. He used to live in Colonel's Den next door to a weekend review. So he used to hop in from the Colonel's Den, and we were together in weekend review before he cracked the civil services. Talking about a late father, he was a simple man, a hero who ran away from home, a boy who ran away from home, joined the army, and in 2 months of training sent to the battlefield, and a hero at just 17 years old. This does not imply that the younger generation should run away from home. The Victoria Cross is the highest medal awarded by the King Queen of England for bravery to the Commonwealth, for bravery in the field of air, land and the seas to the Commonwealth nations. Lord Mountbatten, the Supreme Commander of the Allied Forces, described his valor as the most deserving award in the entire Far East theatre of war. What makes his VC more elevated is because 2 weeks prior to winning the Victoria Cross, he had already bagged the military medal, the second highest honor next to Victoria Cross. So his Victoria Cross is ranked very high among the Victoria Crosses. After the war, he decided to stay back in India and join the Indian Army and became the aide-de-camp to the President of India and served 5 presidents of India. He was a simple man and always giving back to the society. So the family always upholds this tradition of giving back to the society, and we in the family always try to chip in and help whatever it is. He built schools, he built monasteries, he was associated with so many associations, and in the family we always try to carry out this tradition of reaching out to the society, and we still follow it. My brother, me, and all our family members, we try to follow this tradition. About the father, I think you should read more about from Anuradha's book. Today is a great and proud moment for all of us. It is a mix, today's thing is a mix of academicians, poets, writers, students, and all those together who have come together. And we cannot be more happier that this was possible. We want to thank the organizing committee, Dr. Jamyan, Chotin Nobu, Pankaj sir, for organizing it with surgical precision. We also want to thank Wangchuk and Pamela for providing us with this space to launch the book. I will drop some names here. I want to thank our uncle, Mr. Namdal Maning Yobla, for coming all the way along with your team of North Sikkim Academy. Mr. Pemanamdi, Ubon Visa, Ayakulu Ladak is also here. Not to forget people with the receiving her, like Dr. Satya. This is our 3rd launch, I think, together. We broke the record. Dr. Ujjwal Khatirwada. So Colonel Jolkatiwala, thank you for coming. And not missing Siddharth and the EMRS gang. We used to cover EMRS long time back when we were reporters on the basketball trams. Now they have graduated into music, arts, and all kinds of activities. I also want to thank the Takchi team here, Mr. Lauenstein and his team. We have a long association with Takchi because Mr. Lauenstein's mother and father were our principal long time back. First principal actually, when we were in BPCL. My father was associated with Captain Yonga to start the Mayalian Trust and start Lenzum Pema Choling Academy. And we were packed with all our bedding and even beds to Pema Choling, where we got our first education, Western education and religious education. All our family members present here, thank you for coming. The family always has to stay strong, all together. The family has always been there for us. The Yongas, the Yusels, everyone. Now, I also want to mention that we have a Japanese in the family who's married to a Japanese. They've started a reading club, Ganjulama Reading Club, 2 years ago. Sedenla, my niece, and my sister Rinchen Dolma, they started the Ganjulama Reading Club 2 years ago. The team of grandchildren and Nani Babila have been contributing a small amount to donate high quality reading materials to schools and library starting last year, and also extend support to Sanmu School Library. So every year they are doing this. This is for your information. Besides this, we have a museum in Ravangla. Please feel free to come and visit the museum. The family, my brother Norton also runs a resort there. Since I have also got into tourism business, I'm also starting a small homestay. So please feel free to come. You can visit the museum. We have a cave, the Sancho Cave, one of the holy caves, besides other tourism spots around like Temiti and Ravangla, Budappa. So please feel free to come. Thank you, everyone.
Please join me in giving a warm round of applause for the author, Mrs. Anuradha Sharma ma'am. Ma'am, your dedication to bringing the incredible story of late Ganju Lama to life is a gift to us all. This book is more than just history. It's a powerful embodiment of courage, resilience, and the indomitable spirit of a war hero. Thank you for your tireless work, ma'am. If you could kindly come up on the stage, we would like to offer a small token from the family members. Now, I would request Machila Saradadu, who is the eldest daughter-in-law of late Mr. Ganju Lama, to offer khada and a small token of appreciation from the family members. Joining us on the stage will be Mrs. Lekha Rai, ma'am. She is the founder of the Foothills Publishing House, a Siliguri-based independent publishing house that is dedicated. Their team is dedicated to showcase the diverse stories of our region, the people, the struggles, the landscape, the dreams that shape our identity. We are fortunate that her inaugural book features our very own decorated war hero. Ma'am, please. For this, I would like to call Machila Jumki Lamu, who is the daughter-in-law of late Mr. Ganju Lama, to offer. joining us on the stage is someone who has been entertaining us for all these years, a true cultural icon. Be it in the form of his witty cartoons, his insightful write-ups, or his quirky sense of humor, he has indeed captured the heart and soul of Sikkim. He is Sikkim's our very own R.K. Lakshman, with his distinctive style, wit and artistry to add to this. He is also an illustrator of this book. Pankaj Thapa sir, please could you come up to the stage? And for this, I would like to invite his granddaughter, Chukila, to please offer. Is Chukila there? Chukila, please come. So for this, the daughter, Mrs. Dimple, of late Mr. Ganju Lama, she is here to offer the khada and the token. Join us on the stage. And finally, to complete our stage party for the evening, we have one more important person to acknowledge and welcome. A man whose official responsibilities keeps him at the forefront of policy making, yet whose heart remains rooted in expression and contemplation. He is the respected Secretary of the Department of Education, but beyond its administrative role, he's also a talented poet and writer, Mr. Tashi Chokul sir. Please join us on the stage. For this, I would like to request Lizong Bhutia, who is the daughter and granddaughter-in-law of late Ganju Lama sir, to please come. Daughter-in-law. Yes, so please. First up, Mrs. Lekha ma'am will present a brief overview of a publishing house. Over to you, ma'am.
A very good afternoon, everyone. Indeed, it's an overwhelming experience for me. I'm a bit nervous too. But before I begin, first of all, I would like to thank Dr. Jamyam and the organizing team and the family members of late Ganju Lama for taking this initiative of organizing such a grand book launch for us. I'm just falling short of words. Thank you so much. And moving on to talk about the publishing house, Foothills Publishing, and I would like to first begin with talking a little bit about my book cafe, Cafe the Twins, because these are in some ways interrelated. Just yesterday, I think, maybe 2 years ago, I had thought of starting a publishing house, and now we are here with our first debut book, Ganju Lama VC, Sikkim's Hero in War and Peace. And I'm officially a publisher now. But before becoming a publisher, I have been a bookseller for almost 6 years. And I have been running this book cafe called Cafe the Twins in Salbari, Siliguri. And in November, we are going to complete 6 years. And one of the major reasons, or one of the driving force behind starting Cafe the Twins was our passion and our love for literature, books and stories. and also to create a space where literature can thrive and grow. And when we thought of starting Foothills Publishing, it is this same passion, this same vigor and love for literature, stories and books that led to the beginning of our new, very recent venture called Foothills Publishing. So this is a bit of a backstory about how it all began. So moving on to the next question about what is Foothills Publishing all about. We are a small independent publishing house, but yes, we have big dreams, big visions. Foothills Publishing was born out of a necessity to amplify diverse voices that have long been marginalized and ignored, to bring to the fore underrepresented perspectives, unsung histories, especially from the Eastern Himalayas and beyond. We would strive to tell stories that engage, resonate, and also challenge. And above all, we would strive to create a vibrant, equitable, and inclusive literary landscape where every story, every voice, every perspective is important. Because at Foothills, we firmly believe that every story matters. So, this is in brief what Foothills Publishing, as a publishing house, independent publishing house, would strive to do in the coming days. Moving on to the next question, that what do we start with? Yeah, we want to bring to the fore underrepresented voices, excluded voices, but what do we start with? So the idea of starting a publishing house was there in my mind for a long time, and I shared it with, I think it was sometime in the year 2023 that I shared this idea with my very close friends who are also a part of the Foothills team. Anuradha Dee, she's not only the author of the book, but I consider her as my soul sister. I shared this with her. Anuradha Dee, Sujata Dee, she's here. Smriti, and even Priyanka, she's also a part of the team, but because of some reasons she could not be here today. So I shared these with my closest friends, and they are my support system, my biggest support system, and without any second thought, they agreed to be a part of my venture. And then, what next? Then we started having a lot of discussions, conversations about what stories should we begin with. So we had a lot of discussion, conversations over cups of tea, tasty samosas, rasmalai and sandwiches. So after a round of discussions, brainstorming and exchange of ideas, and we finally decided after deep reflection that we should start with writing or publishing stories for children, because we found that there is a significant gap when it comes to stories of children from this part of the world. So we thought, let's start with stories for children, and that is how the idea of starting a biography series, especially for children aged 10 years and above. That is what we decided with, and then we started with Ganjulama. Our first choice was late Ganjulama, and this is our first book. And because we intend to publish a biography series, so this is the first book of our upcoming series of biographies that we intend to publish as a publishing house. And why do we think we chose a biography? because I think these are for all the children who are here today. Because we believe children should grow up reading about heroes and change makers from their soil. It is an attempt to bring young readers close to real life heroes who may not be aware of how someone from their own region shaped history in such a profound way. And when I grew up also, I never had any single memory of seeing my people like me in books or stories. And I think this lack of representation in books has somehow affected my sense of identity too. We do not have anything against the Wimpy Kid or Harry Potter. Yes, kids really love these stories. Even my twins, they read these stories. These stories have fueled the imagination of my kids. But we just want to say, okay, this is for all the children are present here, but we want to say, dear children, we also have stories that are equally interesting and engaging. Where do you find these stories? Dear children, you don't have to look too far. It is there in our backyard. Our backyard is a treasure trove of stories. Right in our own backyard, a world of wonder awaits. And we have superheroes, we have superheroes like Ganju Lama and even, Wonder Woman like Parijat in our own region. You don't have to look too far. So here we are with Ganju Lama, a hero from the region. And I'm sure Ganju Lama will resonate with readers across ages, not only for kids, but I'm sure it will resonate across readers. And so far the response has been very encouraging and positive, and we are really very happy. And lastly, before I conclude, I once again would like to thank the family of late Ganju Lama for this kind gesture. We really appreciate your kindness and support. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you, Lika ma'am, for sharing your inspiring vision. It's truly heartening to have an independent Siliguri-based publishing house so deeply committed to capture the richness and complexities of our region. We hope to see more books from your publishing house of our local heroes in the years to come. Thank you very much. Next, I would like to call Pemachuki ma'am again troubling you, for the formal inauguration of this book. Machila, please could you accompany Anila for the launch of the book? Yes, sir. Anuradha ma'am, please. Yeah. Again, Northern, please could you join us on the stage? Dimple, please could you come up on the stage? Family members. Again, Northern is there. Dr. Jamyan, please could you come up on the stage? So we now turn to Anuradha ma'am and Tashi Chopal sir for a conversation about this book. The floor is yours, sir.
Hello.
Hello. It's a pleasure being here, and it's also a special moment for me because I have three main points. First one is my book of poetry was launched in 2005 years back, and when my first book was launched, the interview was done by Anuradha. So now after 5 years, she's come out with a book. So I'm happy to interview you. That's one. Secondly, my father, like Prema was saying, my father was also in the army. He joined in 1962, and he went through 1962, 65 China War, and 1971 Bangladesh War, and he retired somewhere in 89. So I'm an army brat, so I grew up as an army boy, and Gandulama sir, VC साहब बनते, वहाँ he was an icon. He was our icon, and whenever my father, whenever he went to Ramangala, he always dropped in to pay his respects. So one couple of times I was happy to go there to meet him. He was a imposing figure, legendary figure. So when he passed away in 2000, I think, yeah. So when he passed away also, I was there for his funeral. So that's another special moment that I'm here today. And finally, Premadana and me, we worked together in a newspaper called Weekend Review. So we were together for 3 years, and we really slogged it out there. So it's his father, so that's another special moment. So it's a pleasure being here, and it's a very happy moment to be interviewing you. So Anuradha, this is your first book. How does it feel?
That's a very difficult question actually. It's the most asked, but it's difficult. I feel nice in the sense like I've managed to write it, because in the process of writing, I think we go through self-doubt and you think that maybe I'll not be able to write well enough or tell the story well enough. So after having written, published, and after the feedback, I feel that I think it was alright. So I feel kind of also relieved, a lot relieved.
And since Foothills publications began with Gandulama, why Gandulama?
I think, with or without Foothills also, Gandulama's story was a story that had to be told for a number of reasons, and not just for children. So I was thinking, see, we hear when you are in Sikkim, Gandulama is an everyday name, right? Everybody knows, and it's so, everybody knows Gandulama, we see, that they don't think that you need to write about him enough. Like they think, oh, it's very common, you write about uncommon stuff. So, because I think it's very important to tell his story in the way it's, because we have been telling the story in a very, outsider way, as reported by the British press, right, and then passed it down to us. So I think we had to tell his story our way. And why Foothills? Because see, as I said, when Lekha and I, we met through Cafe the Twins, through events, through many things, and Leah's own sister, she said she wants to get into publishing. And she was saying, what are your, what should I do? And that's when I said that, you should definitely, look into children's writing, books for children. And and we need to tell, then I spoke about, in fact, Gandulama's story was supposed to be written by Sujata Di. You're sitting there quietly, but when we had made a list of books, and then after some time they said, oh, you know so much, you write, right? So then it came to me. Sujata Di was already doing it, and then, no, you write it. So we chose Gandulama because, of course, his, he is one of his kind. He's a legend here in Sikkim, and his story of valor, and also I think in war times, I say war times because we are talking about the war all the time, but it's important to talk about those war heroes who had a different take about the war, because we don't. It's very tricky also to write about war heroes, because you don't want a war and you don't want kids to want war to become heroes. So you want to tell through the eyes of a soldier who was there, who had seen the horrific war, who came back and advocated peace, and to tell them that there was this guy from our part of the world who went and got the highest award for valor and for bravery, but he advocated peace and he maintained that we don't need wars. War should be absolute last resort. So I think all of these together made us decide on Ganjula.
What this book, I've read this book and I really enjoyed the writing there, and especially also the illustrations of Pankaj Thapa, which brings the words to life, right? So it's a very beautifully done book. It was an eye-opener for me, and I'm sure it will be for many, because our policy was VC Saab, Ganjula VC Saab, and he blew up tanks. But there were other incidents also there in this book, which we'll come to. Not many people know that his name was Gyamso Shangarappa. So our young kids are here, our students are here. Can you tell them how his name came to be Ganjula?
See, it's very interesting. Gyamso was a boy who lived in a remote part of Sikkim. He was son to a very strict father. Father would reprimand, maybe possibly also beat up in those times. And these are the details I had a little. I didn't want to write them like that because to make it more relevant to times. But maybe in those days he would have he was raised very strictly, but he had the heart of an explorer. He wanted to explore the world outside, and I think of course you'll read the book to find out the details. But there was an incident where he thought that he made his father unhappy, and he couldn't face him, so he ran away from home. And he wanted to join the army. And because he had an elder brother who was already in Assam Rifles. And he went to the Gallawala. Gallawala those days were people who recruited young men for the army. There was a war going on. And I would really like to take this time to make one thing very clear, and about the whole thing about Gorkha identity, the martial race, and Ganjulama. I saw one interview while researching, and there one of the family members, I think, while talking about Ganjulama, said that he assumed Tamang identity, but I was like, do we tell that story like that? The onus is not in that boy, So it's not on him, because there was a system that was, firstly it was the British who very, I would say recklessly, they came up with the concept of martial race. I don't know whether it's reckless or not, but definitely it wasn't really backed by, so they decided that some races are brave, some races are not. But Ganjulama proves that your bravery is not in your race. Ganjulama proves that anybody, in fact that's what I want to tell children, that anybody can be brave, right? So the idea of, he not being Gorkha, he was not trying to be an imposter there. He was not trying to be, he went there, but that was the system that he was navigating. So it's very important how we tell the story of Ganjulama, not kind of put it on him and say that, he was misrepresenting his facts to get the job. No, that the system was built like that. He was, he went into that. It's not like as if the British didn't know what they were doing. And also there were, these were very, very strange times when there was war going on for years. They needed young people, so the British were willing to look away when they got people to fight their war, right? So they were looking away. So it's not that he was. So this is one thing that I wanted to clarify. And also the idea, when we speak of Ganjulama, we also at the same time we talk about the Gorkha identity, but the Gorkha regiment and Gorkha identity, the martial identity, we have to separate that, right? You being on the Gorkha regiment, it doesn't really, and I think it's very important that to be, seen as brave, you don't always have, as he was not a Gorkha, but he fought in the Gorkha regiment. He was a professional soldier, and his bravery is his bravery. It doesn't, so that's what I think in the book I'm trying to, there's a line saying that anybody can be brave. You have to try to be brave. And and you can be brave even without that Gorkha identity, even though you are in the Gorkha. So I think these are it was complicated to write for children, and it was very difficult to find the exact words to put in there. But I'm glad I chose to write for children. We are calling this a children's book, but basically it's a book for everybody with a reading level of 10-year-old, right? So that helped me really, simplify. Maybe I've also oversimplified in places, but really because these are such really complicated questions of race, of identity, of valor and all that, and how there could be races, which could be. But after that, they came up. They said that this whole Martian theory wasn't the right thing to do. So anyway, but I think.
One of the reasons probably was the Anglo-Gurkha War, wherein the British had a very tough time with them. So once they got in, then they started putting them in their regiments. So that was one reason. And more or less you answered my second question, because you're a journalist, you're working for Telegraph, you're writing in the New York Times, you're writing for many publications. So it must have been, was it difficult to write for a children's book? You were answering that in the
See, as a journalist, we search, sometimes from the field, sometimes from secondary primary sources and all that. But this was also journalistic. In that sense, because the research, I went and met the family members, so the process was journalistic. But writing for children is also, you're trying to simplify, but also you're trying, it was very tricky in the sense that I didn't want to dumb it down either. Sometimes we assume children to be, they are bachas, right, in a bacha way. I didn't want to do that. Children are intelligent, they are capable of understanding. So you have to simplify, but at the same time not dumb it down. So I think that is where I found it challenging. To make it of an elevated standard, I didn't want to, even the language I've used is not a kiddish language. I've used simple language, but not a childish language. It is not child speak or baby speak or whatever. But what I realized is, even writing for children, initially the plan was, when we were thinking of kids' book, we were thinking of really small children. But when I tried to write the book, and I realized that Gajulama is not for very small kids, because it takes a lot of nuance to understand. Then we made it, and also Pankaj Das illustrations, they're so dramatic and there's so much of action in it. So the first book was really baby book. That was the first world version that I had in mind. And then I thought that they were not really, and it was a story that is meant for, the comprehension. So that is where these are the, things that.
I think the book has come out well, the language is well. So it doesn't feel like it's been dumbed down. So I had a good time reading it, and I'm sure the kids will also like it, right? Coming to the moment when a simple 19-year-old boy becomes a legend, can you tell us about that moment?
Yes, of course. So he was, he's this village boy who was milking cows, helping his family, and he is suddenly in the war after a very brief training. And that is the time when, and this is in Burma. Burma is like completely, it's a riverine warfare. There's this forests, a lot of mosquitoes, animals, and there's this tanks. And suddenly that is the time when many of these soldiers are seeing tanks for the first time. And Gajulama had nothing. He was a rifleman. He was trained to use guns, and he had a Piet gun. And Piet gun is a very interesting gun because it wasn't, it was recently introduced and it wasn't very widely, and even their bosses were not very conversant with the equipment. So they gave it to him, they gave some brief instructions, and now you're on you just do it. So there are two very important moments where he really outshines, and when they first see the tanks coming, and the tanks, they come in fleets, 5 tanks coming, and then everybody, what is this? And this also, a little bit, I'll digress a bit to say how I did the research, because I did not meet anybody who has seen a tank warfare. So how do I, if I am there in the battlefield, what will happen first? Will the ground shake first, or will I hear the sound? So I really had to go and see at the speed, and then the river, and then the ground shakes. So these are the little tiny things, like when you're talking about challenges. How do you? I mean, it's like writing a period story, so then I had to go and see the sound. Thankfully I had the aids, and the sound will travel at this speed, and the ground will this thing. So you will have the ground shaking first, because that will feel like an earthquake. So it was must have been very shocking I mean, there were like Ganjulama, others were also these 18, 19-year-olds, maybe even 17, but of course the British Army wouldn't admit to hiring younger people, so in their records it will always be adults and not children. So they must have been, and they're like shocked, they're seeing these beasts coming, and everybody kind of, this thing. So Ganjulama is like, at that time he uses his presence of mind, so he puts the piet there on the ground, and then he takes aim, and then he shoots it. He makes it. So this he repeats again, which is why again the next time he gets, and there's also combat there. So, but I would also like to emphasize, since the children are here, like he was a hero, and that is the time when he really became a big deal in the army. But his heroism, I think for us, for people of Sikkim, happened when he came here. He built schools, he made roads, he contributed to the community. So to see his, this is also what I want to do in the book, to not isolate the war thing about him. That's, I see, he was in the war for only a few years.
So that, especially, he got the military medal a month ahead. So, like, I also had heard him shooting down a tank, but it seems he shot down the tanks twice. So the earlier month he shot down 2 tanks. There were 5 tanks coming, and probably it was over a bridge. And then he knocks down 2 tanks, and then it's blocked. Then they win the battle. That part of the skirmish. 1 month later, similar position. I think the Japs are coming from Imphal side. So basically, the Gurkhas had to come from the behind. So now they are attacking the Japanese. So the Japanese tanks come in, but it seems to be a very pocket. I happened to see a video of this. So he's talking about it, and he cannot see the tanks. He can hear them. So he actually goes forward towards it, trying to see the tank. So when he actually sees the tank, and there are gunshots everywhere, and the person who's his assistant is already shot, so he cannot help. So he leaves him and he goes ahead with the ear gun. And that also, what I saw in the picture, is a very heavy gun. So he moves forward, and when he's around 30 feet from the tank, he looks at the tank, and that must have been one amazing moment. One huge tank right in front of you. Yeah? And then he manages to fire the first shot, blows the first tank. Then he goes to the second tank. The second tank also he fires, he blows that up. I don't know how many other times he loaded alone. And finally, when the third tank he tries, that time he cannot. And the soldiers attack him. So he gets shot in both his legs. He gets shots in his wrist, right hand. So with both all his limbs, it's already shot. But he manages to shoot those Japanese soldiers who are coming out of the tank. And then he goes and fires 3 grenades. There are 3 grenades, and he basically single-handedly wins the war. That battle. So that part is amazing, which has come out in this. And Pankaj Sir's illustration also, it reminded us of the Commando comics. All of us, I'm sure we read Commandos when we were young, and we remember the Japanese coming with Banzai and German saying Achtung. So those moments came out in this book. So kudos to Pankaj Sir also. So yeah, so that was an interesting thing. And then when I saw that documentary also, so the British officers are talking. So one of the British officers says, I think we'll recommend it for a second military medal. And then the other guy says, nonsense, this is Victoria Cross. So that's how it is, how he gets the Victoria Cross. But he's like badly injured, and then he shifted, he's been shot so many times, but he still managed to do that, and he shifted. And that interesting point comes wherein it reminded me of movie called Saving Private Ryan. So Saving Private Ryan in the movie, there's a mission to save Private Ryan, because in the war there are 4 brothers and all 3 have died. So Americans think that we must save that brother for the mother. So there's a company which goes actually hunting for him. And here also there's a similar situation wherein it has been declared that he's got the Victoria Cross, but he's missing. He's nowhere in the scene. So there's a mission to find Ganju Lama. So please tell me about this.
Right. Actually, what happens is when the war is on and then he is injured in the battlefield, they took him to the base, the hospital. First, this also I took a lot of research because I realized in the army there are different levels of caregiving. Yeah, first it is first aid, which is right at the front. So of course I had to go looking for because these details were not available, not entirely, but some rough details were there. But for me to give, to write in details, I had to go. So he was taken from one hospital to another. Then he was taken to Calcutta. First to Manipur, to Imphal, and then to Calcutta, and from there he ended up in Lucknow. And he was recuperating there, and it was a long recovery. It was 2.5 years recovery. He was hospitalized in that. So in all this process, he was announced for Victoria Cross, but nobody was able to find him. And we can also imagine, 1944-45, that was the time when the world, the army situation. You can imagine the war was ending, and they perhaps didn't know who is what, kya chal raha, and they somehow, in fact. It was when General Flynn, he took the personal initiative and he sent people to his village. And this is very interesting. I think this you will find when 2 army people land up in Ganju Lama's father's house, and they asked for Ganju Lama, and he said, "Who is Ganju? I don't have any son called Ganju Lama." And he kind of told them, and they went away. And then they went to Nepal looking for him, because they thought, oh, he's in the Gurkha regiment, so maybe he's from Nepal. And they looked for a village called Sangmu. But of course, Sangmu is not in Nepal. So then again they came to Darjeeling, because in Darjeeling they had the depot where the recruitment and all would take place at that time. And in Darjeeling, then they went through all the records, and they went back to Father Shangarpa again, and then convinced the father that Ganju is your son, and then your son is a war hero. And in the meantime, Ganju Lama was recuperating in Lucknow. So in Lucknow, one day the doctor who was doing the rounds suddenly saw Ganju Lama, and they said, "Oh, you are that Ganju Lama, you're quite famous." And until that time, he had no clue that he was a hero. So before he came to know about his Victoria Cross, I think it was all out there. They had announced in the radio and everything. So I think it was quite dramatic, that part, right?
Then I think he's taken to Delhi, and then Lord Wave, the commander-in-chief, so he thinks that ceremony is there, and he's taken from the hospital in an ambulance. So from Lucknow to Delhi in an ambulance, then in a stretcher probably, and then he's in his wheelchair. So again he's pinned the Victoria Cross, and again he's back in the hospital. So that's a very tough time for him. But again, here you've touched a little bit on the trauma.
Right.
The trauma which war brings, because we always see war. PUBG also, kids, I'm sure they play a lot. They just enjoy the part where they're killing the enemies. But that moment when you're actually killing someone is very different. So you've touched on the trauma aspect, which he keeps waking up during his time in the hospital also. And also way past his retirement. I'm sure, Amla can probably would know more of it. So during his time also, he would wake up sleepless, having nightmares. So those you have touched up, and those were times when you didn't have, I think, counselors to help you. So you were left on yourself, how you deal with your trauma. Probably a little bit on that.
Because he did his job. He was there to do his job, but he realized that war is not good for humanity. War is against humanity. So he didn't really have a very good feeling. Like, it was a mixed feeling that he always lived with. He was proud for having done what was required of him, right? Because doing your duty, and sometimes doing your duty is as much, like that's all is required of you. So he was doing his job. But on a larger scale, on a larger philosophical question, that is not what he thinks he would have liked or wanted to do, right? Because and also he was a religious man, and his father was very religious, he was very religious, he was a very staunch Buddhist, you know. So as a Buddhist, he believed in non-violence and not harming others. So he went through a lot of internal conflict, and with that he also had the PTSD of surviving the war thing. So he was troubled, and I'm sure his closest family members are the ones who actually dealt with it. Because for others, he was a straight-cut war hero, and he had to put up on the thing of being a hero, right? But with family members, I think they had this. And in fact, speaking to them only, they shared with me how he would wake up at night, and he would always be troubled by the war memories. With lot of dedication and all, he really worked in reforming, doing a lot of things for the society, education and other things. I think that's his way of and religious activity and all that. So he spent, in fact, most of the time of his life he spent on social service, so to speak, and education.
So again, which brings us to the second part of the book, which I'm happy that you did, because most of them would have ended with his how he won the Victoria Cross. So I was trying to go through his obituaries which came out when he passed away, and most of them dealt with only the war aspect, never on what happened later. So there, I think that's a new chapter which has come in your book, and wherein I think when he's in the army itself, probably around 1956, that he sets up the school in Sangmo. So Sangmo is the first school which is set up by him, and every month he sends some money from his salary for the running of the school. And not only Sangmo, I think the Alia school, and I think there's one more school, 3 schools came out, and probably after he retired, that Tarku highway was also one of the initiatives of this, and probably the hospital there also. So there's a lot of social work he did, which I think everybody should know about that. And in a very good way also, the entire the Tarku road to Ravangla became known as the VC Gandulama road. That's an interesting chapter. There's a part also in the book wherein you talk about the bullet. So he had, you tell.
Actually, it's nice to hear from you, because you're a better storyteller when it comes to the war parts, and I'm more of a writer. After the war is over, he's the ADC, he's got a civilian role, not a civilian role, but of course not a war. He's not doing the war anymore. But suddenly one day, he was. I think you would like to go for it, yeah. So he has a boil in his shin, right? The thigh, like the shins here, and then he's kind of he's applying poultice, like some herbs and medicines on it, and then out comes a bullet, a Japanese bullet that was lodged in him for 25 years, and that bullet apparently then it's kept in a museum in Lucknow, and it's called the Ganju bullet. This is a story I heard, but because I didn't get the reference, that part I couldn't fact check myself, so I didn't put that, okay, this is called Ganju bullet, but I'm sure it is, but I couldn't locate the bullet myself, or maybe, contact Lucknow Museum where it is and see it. So because I couldn't do it, so I have not, so that's the bullet that was lodged there for 25 years. His life was full of drama, I must say.
And I'll add another anecdote on the bullet. Not that same country bullet, but another bullet. Jorge is already laughing. So apparently, he obviously had bullets in his house. So one of the bullets, Pimaleda, very. Okay. So one bullet, he made an amulet, and he wore this amulet, and in Delhi, probably he was doing somewhere. So the metal director detected it, and he was arrested for that bullet. I think he spent the night in the jail also. Yeah. So the story of the bullet continues. I was just asking him, can you share some funny anecdotes of your father? Then he told me that so all the Victoria Cross winners, every year they invited to London, and the Queen hosts party, lunch or dinner for them. So in the earlier days, they would go by ship. Now they go by flight, but then they would go by ship. And all these Victoria Cross winners in a ship probably would take them a month to reach London from wherever they are going. And they would be so seasick and frustrated that they would brawl. They would fight among themselves or fight with the people in the ship. And when they landed in London, they would all be black and blue. So that was a very nice incident which came out. So it's a lovely book, and I think we are thankful for Anuradha and Pankaj sir for doing this book, and especially to Lekha for publishing this book, because this is very essential for all of us. All of us, we needed this. On behalf of our department also, I just wanted to tell that Ganjul Lama's story is there in our syllabus. It is there in class 5 book in English, Our Heroes, and then it is there also in Nepali class 6 Nepali. So our children have not forgotten him. They know about him and they know about his valor. And this book also, my department will be purchasing for all the libraries of our schools. So I wanted to end this thing on this. Thank you very much for this. Yeah. And thank you for all the organizers for hosting.
Thank you very much, sir and ma'am. As much as I have enjoyed listening to the book talk, I guess everyone the audience must have enjoyed the book. The way they've illustrated, I think they are the best storytellers out here. So with your due permission, we'd like to take some questions from the audience, either to the author, to our moderator, or to the publishing house, or to any of the family member. Anyone from the audience? Any questions? Students from Taxi, from North Sikkim Academy? This is your chance to speak to a family member, or to our author, or to even our moderator. Yes. Mr. Ayan, please can you come up? He's a student from Taxi School. Your question is to the author now.
So thank you for having me here. So dear author, since you've written a book like Ganjul, I was just wondering, are there any stories that kind of inspired you from maybe your childhood or recent times that kind of relate to Ganjul sir's story?
I think Ganjul story is unique, right? Especially because it's from, and we've read about other war heroes, we've read war poems when we grew up, but I think singularly I was inspired by him only, so to speak, like him, because he's a hero that's from closer home, and we read about other heroes from other parts of the world. I think I didn't need other inspirations to write about Ganjul. He was inspirational enough. Thank you.
Any more questions?
Any more questions? Yes? Please come up. Sorry for troubling you. You need to come up on the stage.
Good evening, all of you. My name is Shashwati Shah. I teach English at the Sikkim University, and it's a wonderful book and wonderful initiative because you need to have these stories for children. But as we know that we kind of categorize children's literature as children's book, but they can be read by anybody, and you just can't put a borderline there. However, congratulations. I just was wondering, like, since you have been doing a lot of research for writing a book like this, which is important, so have you at any point of time felt like you have to select portions because everything cannot go into a book? And since you're also writing from a children's perspective, that things that you could have included if it had it been an adult, for the adults in general, which you kind of did not include here. That was I was thinking that what was in the mind of the author if you had conflicts regarding what to include and what not. That was something that came to my mind. Also, like every children's book comes with a kind of moral there. Like you were saying that you have to be brave no matter what is the situation like. Right, so when you are trying to create this atmosphere of threat for children, you know, where you need to be brave. So how do you represent like the situation where Japanese are a threat here? So how you're negotiating this borderline sort of thing? Also, can I ask something to Pankaj sir also?
I'm not sitting there.
No, but you are sitting here. No, I was thinking like when you're illustrating a book which is about the history of the soil, so do you employ techniques which you think will match up to the indigeneity, let's say, of the place and not get inspired or does not reflect something that comes from Japan or from other Western literature, just like that? Thank you. Thank you.
I would like to speak first. Okay, sir.
Actually, I could have just met Shashwati and told her this also. But since my dear MC over here insists, this was asked to me in Silicon also about the illustrations, you know, and about how, like you were saying, not Japanese trying Nipponizing the thing. So whenever I'm illustrating, I try to put in elements that would make it, register the illustration to our part of this world. For example, if you see the first illustration of Sangmo, okay, the houses are very, our local Sikkimese houses, and so that would be identified. And you try and find elements, I have purposely not drawn the faces, because that was the easy way out, faster, because these guys were on a short rope. Okay, but more importantly, if you draw the face, then it becomes, it identifies with someone. Without the face, it is more generalized. And then the scene where the first chapter where Ganjulama and the father, when they are blessed with the son. So if you notice the core, the core of the couple, then he's also wearing that little beads, the mala on his wrist. Okay, you get the illustration. So these are little elements which we have from Sikkim, which I think people will say, oh, that's the thinga which the worry beads, as we say. So these things do kind of, and I always like to crack jokes on that letter which the two officers have gone to give the father, saying this is Ganjulama, this is a letter from Queen Victoria. Thankfully that has become very small, you can't see, but I actually signed it Vicky. That's how close they would be anyway later on. So basically that is what I try to do. I do try to, and for those of you, if you remember the cartoon which went viral, the iTunes and iPad and all, over there also the couple is like they're wearing salwar kameez and all that, so that will, no matter where it goes, it will still remain from our region. Does that answer your question? Okay? Thank you, Shashwati, for listening.
Thank you, Pankaj sir. Now over to Anuradha ma'am.
Those are quite many questions in 2 questions. To answer the first one, what would I have left? What I have left out? I have left out those things that I couldn't fact check or verify myself in primary or secondary sources, because it's told like a fictional, in a fictional way, and certain conversations are fictionalized. But apart from conversations, other things are completely facts. So anything that I couldn't, like for example, Ganjula Bullet story was so nice, and the name, but I didn't use the word Ganju Bullet because apart from the orally I heard, I couldn't find the data to back it up, right? And also maybe certain, the story would have been same, but for adults I would have maybe written in more details about certain things, right? And as he said about their honeymoon also, because it's a very interesting love story, or how he met ma'am and when they got married, and also those are the things that I did for the children, right? And that's one thing about, see, I'm not telling that you should be brave. You must be brave. We can't tell anybody that you have to be brave, right? It's not, the story is not that. But if you want to be brave, you can be brave. So it's not about your race. It's not about who you are, where you come from. So it's not about that, oh, because you are a Gurkha, you are brave. No, that is a fallacy. In fact, that is what I'm trying, that is why I wrote this book, in fact. Like, one of the things that I wanted to tell in this book, because a lot of deal is made about the martial identity of the bravery and Gurkha. Oh, because you are born in such and such way, so therefore you are brave. You can't thrust bravery on a person. When you want to be brave, you can be brave, and doing your job well, and whatever you have signed up for, you do that well. That's good enough.
I forgot to ask one question. This book is done now. So, what is the next book you are aiming at?
I really need to get back and start and do my work that I do, my journalism, because I've not been working. I'm a freelance journalist now, and my bank account is crying for attention, so I have to, I've focused last year. But yeah, for the long term, of course, I do have a few ideas working on, and maybe it could be more biographies for children, because I realize that children love biographies written in a simple way, and also we try to make biographies very boring, but biographies can be factual, and at the same time, because our lives are interesting. All of us are not celebrities here, all of us are not well known, but our lives are, we all lead interesting lives, so we can tell that to children, I think. So maybe there could be biographies. I'm working on a few ideas. Let's see. I always say that I'm doing this, I'm doing that. It doesn't work out, so let's wait for announcement.
There's only that. I think there's a question there. Come.
Kindly introduce yourself. Taking the last question for the evening. With a shortage of time, thank you.
Hello, this is for the author. My name is Ravina, I'm one of the mother. Yeah. So I was just wondering, just the name Ganju Lama, because as far as I know, that's not his real name. So has it mentioned in the book for the kids? That's all. Thank you. Yeah, because I haven't read the books. I was just inquisitive. Thank you.
Thank you, Ravina. With this, we come to the end of this question-answer session. If there are any further questions, you can meet the author backstage. We'll take one question.
What is the best part in this book? Like, what is, what is the best part of this book? Okay. I think the question was not heard by everybody, but my question is, what is the best part in the book that has inspired you so much? Like, that's touched your heart?
Thanks.
Thanks for that question, because when he had asked me the question first, I had missed answering. So he was Gyamso Shandirpa, born. But when he went to join the army, he as we discussed then, he assumed the surname of Ganju Lama, because certain surnames were included in the army, the Gorkha regiment at that time. And because, these recruiting clerks were all British, they didn't get his accent right, so they must have asked him, what's your name? He said Gyamso, and they heard him Ganju. And he took a long time to get used to the name. So even in the barracks where they would call Ganju, he had to wait. Okay, they're calling me. So that's how he became Ganju. It's kind of a small, clerical error, his first name. That's how Ganju Lama. And the part that I liked writing most, in fact, you won't believe it was the first part. The initial, his life in Sikkim, Sangmo, because I come here and I see Gangtok, the city of high rises, and when I cross the border, it seems like coming to a foreign country. And when I sat down to write this, that Sikkim of those times, the Sikkim that's lost, and for me to visualize, to imagine the terrace farming, that all that happened, and how the Shangri-Las came in. That part of the story was so interesting, about the K. Vamsa, prince of Chumbi Valley, and so interesting. That part I enjoyed very much, as far as I enjoyed. But as far as like from Ganju's Lama's life, it was most dramatic. And of course, I think writing about him in the war, suddenly seeing so much of activity, and then him being so level-headed with his PhD. Because I'm here in front of you with this thing, and I'm so nervous. I don't know what he must have been with this PhD gun, and trying to calculate, and then hitting the target, not being able to see, and then suddenly. I think we all want that presence of mind. We all want to be calm like that and patient like that. So that is a point where you feel like, you feel like we are in awe. Yeah.
Thank you, ma'am and sir, for a beautiful illustration. Please give a round of applause to our moderator. Thank you very much. Now have a short musical performance by the students of AMRS Gangyur. I think AMRS Gangyur needs no introduction. They are a household name here in Sikkim. Ably led by the principal, Mr. Siddharth Yonzen, their achievements, especially in basketball and music, are deeply inspirational.
Last night I said this verse.
beginning of our entertainment. Now to add to it, we have a special guest. Can you guess who's there for the guitar? Any guesses? All the way from West Sikkim, a very special person. Around all for it.
as I thanked everybody, so let me mention the principal and students of NSA from all the way from Mangan who've come here to this event, and the teachers and students of Taksey, the EMRS, Gangnam, West Sikkim. What a lovely musical performance. Can we give them a big round of applause? I felt they did not just sing songs that are from the past, but they sung it so beautifully, you know. Their voices were so angelic, and their faces, especially when they were singing with their faces, smiling faces, and they were enjoying a lot. And I could hear some people talking at the back, but I was wondering why are they talking in such a lovely performance. You know, I couldn't help myself.